Hello everyone, welcome to Res Snapper. My name's MJ and this is Snap or Pass, a series where we look at the brand new cards coming to Marvel Snap each week, and this week it is my most anticipated card of the Marvel Rivals season, and it's the last card. It's Rocket, Raccoon and Groot. They're a 3/3. You can move this once after your opponent plays a card here, steal 1 power from it. In this video we're going to be looking at the spotlight caches that they're in, synergies, I'll give you several deck ideas, and we'll talk about everything related to the card. You can use the chapters below to skip to a specific section, and I would politely ask you to like the video if you do end up enjoying it. You'll surely have to. And please subscribe. So many of you watch my videos and aren't subscribed, and that is heartbreaking, so let it be a Christmas miracle. Actually, yeah, we are past Christmas. Hope you had a good Christmas. Anyway, let's talk about those spotlight caches. So we've got Celine and Bob alongside Rocket, Raccoon and Groot. Celine, like, Series 4, and really not a good card at all. I've even tried, like I've tried in Clog, and it just never seems to shake down. It doesn't reliably hit what you want. Yeah, not a fan personally. And Blob, I actually do think Blob is good, particularly in Arishem decks. He is a Series 5, however, I'm not crazy about this variant, and this is like the 5th or 6th time he's been in Spotlight Caches. It's something like that. So there's been plenty of opportunity to get him. So actually, unfortunately, I don't think this is the strongest week to actually go for Spotlight Caches. So I'd probably recommend, if you do want Rocket, Raccoon and Groot, to get tokens, to not get tokens, to buy tokens. You'll actually lose tokens because you should buy them with tokens. Anyway, let's talk about the mechanics for them. I think the archetypes they're going to fit most into includes Move Disruptions. This is like with Scream and those kinds of cards. Lockdown. Good cards deck, because I think just generally speaking Rocket Raccoon has a broad appeal and will fit into lots of decks. Control. Clog, Affliction and Surfer. So as you can see, there's absolutely loads of opportunity here. I've only highlighted 3 decks which we'll look at later in this video, but I could have done like 6. I think he's an awesome card. Anyway, so Rocket, Raccoon and Groot has the ability to surprise your opponent if you have priority, and the ability to control them if they're already in play. So if they're already down at a location, your opponent may be sort of apprehensive in playing at that location. They don't want to take the 1 power hit, which is actually a 2 power swing, remember. Somewhat vaguely similar to the Scream factor. You've got not only the fact that you're gaining power, but you're also taking it from them as well. So it's like a double whammy. So do not underestimate the strength of that. Like if Rocket, Raccoon and Groot just hits once, it's a 3/5, and they can also move. So we're back into literally old school Nocturne territory with that. But it's going to be so good to play a location where they're expecting to play. Maybe they play an Ant-Man, boom, you play the Rocket Raccoon down. Or you surprise them, you've got priority, and they get hit when they're not expecting to. I think both of those are really cool. He does, or they I should say, does several things, so maybe broadly useful in many archetypes. I think this might become the new Nocturne, which I sort of mentioned a minute ago anyway. And as a 3/3 that can move at base stats, it's kind of like lowish tempo, but obviously you're hoping for more. But the actual potential for the card is absolutely wild. Like, theoretically you can get to like a 3/19 if you play Rocket Raccoon down and they play 4 cards there, and then you move and they play another 4 cards there. Technically it's a 3/19. Now obviously that is essentially never going to happen, but I just wanted to highlight the actual ceiling on this guy is massive, or these guys. Pros, as we saw with Nocturne, moving even just once can be a very useful ability. We saw this, Nocturne came out, she was considered absolutely fantastic, had to be nerfed down to 3/4. Are we going to see Rocket, Raccoon and Groot getting a nerf? We'll have to see. It may cause your opponent to miscalculate, so I think this could be like a bit of an echo factor. Either they'll forget it's there and they'll forget the hit. It will be interesting to see if it is more visible than Echo, because Echo is completely invisible. If you've ever played the game, I could be playing Echo in my own deck and I won't see my opponent's Echo. Echo is totally invisible. It will be very interesting to see if Rocket, Raccoon and Groot has the same effect, because there's not many cards in the game that do this, that trigger off of your opponent playing a card there. So I think they definitely have the possibility to be as invisible as Echo, and I'm super excited for that. So you can use them as a way to lay a trap and play cards like Juggernaut and Goliath in a different location. Like maybe if you've got Rocket Raccoon down, you've got other like intimidating power cards there, like maybe even an Ant-Man, and your location isn't full and you're going into turn 6. That is so much dissuasion to the opponent to not play at that location. They may just stay clear, and then you can either Juggernaut them or Goliath them in another location, and boom, you've ruined their play. But let's talk about some cons. They're not good if you draw them on the final turn and you don't have priority. They're a 3/3, so it's a low tempo play, and you're probably just not even going to play that. So, yeah, not great on the final turn if you haven't got priority. A little bit better if you do have priority. In fact, playable if you do have priority. And if your opponent is able to avoid playing at their location, it means they become somewhat of a low tempo play. So yeah, you want to make sure that this card sort of works with the rest of the cards in your deck. I realised that the sentence I just said is the same for every deck in the game, really, sort of. Anyway, let's move on to locations, guys. I could have gone to absolute town on locations. There is absolutely loads of really good locations for Rocket Raccoon and Groot, and there's like lots of locations that are very similar. Basically, any location which has like a positive effect for you playing there is generally a good location for Rocket Raccoon and Groot, because both players are going to want to play there. So you're either going to damage them or obviously steal power from them if they play there and you're also playing there, or you're just going to dissuade them from playing there. So it's like there's multi benefits. So I haven't highlighted all of those types of ones, but some of them are Castle Blackstone, obviously fantastic. Every time they play there, they're basically giving you 2 power essentially. I mean, you're taking 1 from them and you're gaining 1, so that's going to be really good. It's going to be a struggle for them to maintain Castle Blackstone if you've got Rocket Raccoon and Groot down. Bar Sinister is an absolute auto snap. You snap on Bar Sinister because it's absolutely crazy. Even if, right, turn 3, Bar Sinister, you fill it up. Turn 4, maybe you could move 1 or 2 Rocket Raccoon and Groots out of Bar Sinister, and either have 1 each at the other 2 locations, or what I'd probably do, move 2 and put 2 on each of the other locations. Anytime they play a card there, you're causing a 4 power swing. I'm sorry, I'm holding up the wrong number of fingers. You're causing a 4 power swing, because they play a card there, you steal 2, so you grow 2, they lose 2. That's crazy. Unless they've got Luke Cage or Shadow King, that's going to be an absolute nightmare for them. And even if they do have those, what are they doing? Like, if they got Luke Cage, you've still gained power. And if they've got Shadow King, they've only got 1. So you can just concentrate on winning Bar Sinister or whatever else. Unreal. Avengers Compound, literally forcing them to play into your Rocket Raccoon and Groot. The Raft, again, if you can get down the Rocket Raccoon and Groot early enough, which may be a struggle because obviously the Raft can get filled up by turn 3. But even if you can't, at least you can then move the Rocket Raccoon and Groot out. Pet Mansion, again, any location which forces your opponent to move into anywhere is going to be fantastic. And Muir Island, again, one of the locations where you are encouraged to play multiple cards there. So you can scoop up all of the benefit. In fact, even the Muir Island, even if it was just a move element, you'd like Muir Island, because you could then move out of it and scoop all of that power with you. There are, of course, a couple of bad ones, but nothing too crazy. Fisk Tower goes without saying, if you move into it, you'll get -4, so just don't move into it. So it's not the worst, you just avoid it. But Asteroid M is a particularly bad one. First of all, Rocket Raccoon and Groot will be moved into there if you play it, so it takes away your agency of where you're able to control the cards. And secondly, if your opponent wants to avoid playing into Rocket Raccoon and Groot, they can avoid doing so with a 3-cost card and a 4-cost card. So there's not too many cards they're going to be able to avoid playing into. I mean, the flip side to that, of course, is that Rocket Raccoon and Groot can move. So as soon as you've got them into Asteroid M, you can swing them back out of it. Right, let's talk about some counters for them. We've actually touched on a few of these already, but Shadow King is going to be particularly bad, especially if they hit you at a location where you've already stolen. So you've stolen power from them and obviously you've gained it. It's going to be a double swing, so Shadow King is going to be a nightmare. Scream is going to be able to take away not only your agency and control over them, because maybe they move the Rocket Raccoon and Groot, and it frees up a location for them to play into. But obviously, when Rocket Raccoon and Groot moves, which it can do, obviously it'll be afflicted by the -3 from Scream. -2? -2 from Scream. Beg my pardon. And Luke Cage, of course. Yeah, we speak about this quite often about cards that steal, like Cassandra Nova and stuff. Rocket Raccoon and Groot will still Rocket Raccoon and Groot will still maintain the power. It's just your opponent won't be negatively afflicted. Forget counters though, let's talk about cards that work well with Rocket Raccoon and Groot. I think you want to go for cards which have an element of control over your opponent and force or persuade your opponent to play somewhere. A great, fantastic one is Nebula, obviously another Guardian of the Galaxy here. It's going to be fantastic to play down Nebula and then play Rocket Raccoon on top of Nebula, because they're like, well, okay, do I cause the 2 power from Nebula or the 2 power swing from Rocket Raccoon and Groot? So that's going to be fun. I really like White Widow into Rocket Raccoon and Groot though, because it curves into it, so it's a 2 and then a 3, and your opponent is definitely going to want to be destroying the Widow's Kiss or Widow's Bite, whatever it is. I can never remember between Black Widow and White Widow which one's which. Anyway, they're definitely going to be wanting to destroy it. I mean, just food for thought, guys. You play White Widow on 2, you play Rocket Raccoon and Groot on 3. What if your turn 4 was like Scream and Scream somewhere else, and maybe like Armor in the middle? So they try and destroy the mid. They take the hit on losing some power. They try and destroy it. They fail anyway. And then you've got Scream, you can just move other stuff. Oh, I think that could be Bants. I think Kraven's going to be a good one, because Rocket Raccoon and Groot can move, and I think in a move disruption shell, I think they're going to work really well. Lizard's a great one. Your opponent is going to want to fill the Lizard location, and similarly to White Widow, it curves into Rocket Raccoon and Groot. Jean Grey, the literal actual forcing your opponent to play at the same location card. Bit of a shame that they're both 3. So that's annoying, but I do like the Rocket Raccoon and Groot into Jean Grey, or vice versa if you've got priority. So either of them are going to be cool, I think. And Storm. I think Rocket Raccoon and Groot is going to work well as a lockdown deck card, whatever. Either you play Rocket Raccoon and Groot into the Stormed location on turn 5, or you've already got Rocket Raccoon and Groot there, or you play down Rocket Raccoon and Groot somewhere else and sort of somewhat force them to play blah blah blah. Or also, as one of the decks that we'll look at, you can Storm and then Professor X, and you can still move into it with Rocket Raccoon and Groot. So let's look at those decks. First one I've got for you is Screaming Galaxy. This is a move disruption deck, so as you can see, we've got a lot of the cards that we've already discussed. So Nebula, and for the control element, which also just generally works fantastically well in move disruption. Anyway, then we've got our cards that benefit from cards being moved, so Kingpin and Kraven. We have got the Scream in here. We've also got somewhat of the more mobile move disruption side of things. So some move disruptions decks go down the Magneto route, and almost somewhat like the Clog route. This one I've gone more mobile. Hi, baby, I'm calling on my mobile phone. So we've got Silk, we've got Miles Morales. We're typically going to be moving stuff almost every turn, like pretty easily with this deck, apart from the first couple of turns. So Miles Morales works great. That is also partly why I've avoided the Magneto, because typically on turn 6 you're actually going to want to do either Aero and Cannonball and Miles Morales. So you're going to be wanting to do some combination of that. And obviously Rocket Raccoon and Groot fits so naturally into this style of deck. Especially what I love with him is, with move disruption decks, I would 100% recommend playing Kingpin on the right location. Same with Kraven. Play them on the right. Play Nebula on the left. It means that you can fiddle with your Stegron, and it means all your other move cards can more easily move their cards to the right, basically. And so you're almost going to want to try and clog the right location. Now, if you're against an experienced player and they see a Kingpin or a Kraven come down, they are most likely to play at that location. So you then play the Rocket Raccoon and Groot on the right, and then you can benefit by moving them out later and cannonballing or whatever it needs to be. Awesome. And also cost-wise, guys, this is a modest deck. Only got a couple of Series 5 cards in there. The next one I've got, I just just bloody love this as well, guys. I just love this card. So this is called Follow My Lead. It is a combination between a control deck and an ongoing deck. And when I say control, I actually mean controlling them. You're forcing them to play in particular locations rather than a classic control deck with like Shang-Chi and other tech tools. So it's another modest deck as well, by the way. It's only got a couple of Series 5 cards in. So our early game is stuff like Ant-Man and Nebula. Nebula there for the control element. We have got Mojo, which is going to actually try and probably dissuade them from playing at that location. So you probably want to play Rocket, Raccoon and Groot somewhere other than the Mojo location. Then you've got some awesome cards like US Agent. Again, has an element of forcing them to not play their higher costed cards there. We've got Lizard. Because we've got Lizard in here, we've also got Luke Cage to prevent the negative energy on there. But also, this is an ongoing deck, so we've got Spectrum as a finisher. So Luke Cage is in there for a few reasons. In fact, a third reason, there's like endless reasons for Luke Cage in here. We've got US Agent and Man-Thing in here as well. Anyway, eventually we play into our Jean Grey. Yes, guys, this is a Jean Grey deck. Would you believe it? War Machine, we could play War Machine on top of Jean Grey, and it allows us to not have to play into her. And if we do that, we can then curve really nicely into Professor X, another play here, which again we discussed a moment ago, is Professor Xing, whilst already having Rocket, Raccoon and Groot out, is nice. And yeah, all of this just comes together with the Spectrum. So I think this could be a really surprising and really cool deck. And then just one more deck for you. This one is a premium deck. So this has got, I think this has got like 5 Series 5 cards in. It's Mobile Lockdown, so it's a bit similar to some of the Doom 2099 decks we've been seeing recently, but with a bit more emphasis on the lockdown sort of element. So we've got Nebula in here again. We have got Echo, because Echo has quite a lot of ongoing cards around at the moment, so either you'll win games by your opponent not seeing her. That's probably more likely than them just avoiding her. And then we have got Copycat just as a good card. We've got Galacta almost just as a good card, but works well with lockdown stuff as well. We've got Aero, so what you might do is Storm, they play something and then you Aero whatever they've played in the Storm location out. But we do also have the Doom line here as well, and I just thought basically Rocket, Raccoon and Groot just as a good general card will fit well in not only a lockdown style deck, but also just this deck in general has really solid cards in, so generally going to feel really good. Just a little reminder to like, subscribe and turn on notifications, because these things really help out my channel. As I said earlier, you people are naughty and you're watching my video without subscribing. It would really help me out if you did subscribe and I see those numbers go up. Thank you. Anyway, star ratings overall, it's a 5-star card, guys. I think they're fantastic. Very, very usable in a great number of decks. I think they provide a great boost to move disruption, so definitely if you like that style of deck, definitely worth a look there. But I think they're going to fit in really nicely into lots of places. For fun, I've given them 4 stars. I think it's going to feel really good. Stealing power from folk and the ability to move is always fun. And just toying with your opponent, that's going to feel good as well. Within the archetypes they fit into best, I think they'll be a great boost. As I said, I do think it's a meaningful improvement to move disruption. And from a competitive standpoint, I do think we'll see these guys in the meta. So I've given 4.5 stars. So ultimately, is it snap or pass? I mean, guys, of course it's a snap. It's my favourite card of the season, and this is a season that also featured Doom 2099, which is borderline broken, would you say? It's come out really fantastically. So, yes, thank you very much for watching, guys. Hope you had a nice Christmas. If you're... Oh, bloody hell, this will be the one before the New Year. Oh my god, I'll see you next year. What have you got planned for the New Year? We'll be having takeaway, won't we, Claire? We'll be having takeaway on New Year's Eve. Takeaway in the eve, and then on the day we'll actually go to the Lego store and pick up some brand new Lego sets, and then we're going to go and spend some time with the family. So it's going to be a good time. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Thanks for all your support this year. Really appreciate it, and I'll see you next year.